It's 6 p.m. on Tuesday, February 20th, 2024, and I hereby call this meeting of the City Council to order. Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, as we do the work that has been entrusted upon us to do, please place your hand upon us and provide us with wisdom and strength to do what is right and what is just for all. Please remove any thoughts that are unjust and self-serving from our minds and from our hearts. Please pray for the hungry. Please pray for the sick, and please pray for the elderly. Please pray for our children and for the ones that work hard to ensure that their voices are heard. Please pray for our men and women in blue and place your protection upon them. For this and all our private intentions, we pray to you, most heavenly Father. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk.
Councilmember Finley,
Here.
Councilmember Lisi,
Here.
Councilmember Cumberland,
Here.
Councilmember Marr,
Here.
Mayor.
Here. Can I get a motion to confirm agenda or adjust?
Motion to confirm.
Motion made by Councilwoman Lisi, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. All in favor?
Aye.
The next regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council will be held March 5th, 2024 at 6 p.m. here in City Council chambers. Next, we have Cynthia with CASA, and I think we all know her, here to give us an update.
Thank y'all for having me this evening. For those who aren't familiar either in the room or on our council, my name is Cynthia Chauvin. I'm the director of CASA. And I first want to continue to applaud this city for the continuous support that you provide to the abused and neglected children of this county. It is not often enough that I can sing the praises of the work that you all are doing to protect children, the elderly, our pets. Every time I'm here, I'm reminded of how good Diamond Head is and how intentional you are with the support you give to our kids. So I want to give you some 2023 outcomes about our CASA program before I talk expansion. I want to let you know that we currently have 3 board members that live in the city of Diamond Head on our board. They are Huey Stockstill III, Andy Orizali, and Ty Wiltz. We have 1 staff member, Lauren Socher, who is my right hand and has been with CASA for 10 years, also a member of the city of Diamond Head. Additionally, we have, let me see if I wrote that down. I believe we have 14 advocates that are currently serving children that live in Diamond Head. So the advocates reside here. I'll temper that with saying the continued response to volunteerism from the Diamond Head community continues to be one of the largest ways we can recruit, and the folks here want to support our cause and our kids, and we're appreciative. This year, 2023, I should say last year, we served 192 children in Hancock County and by 74 Hancock County advocates. Of those 74 Hancock County advocates, 12 of those 192 children were from abused or neglected and removed from homes in Diamond Head. That's a hard number to look at year to year, but I think it's an important number to remind us that no community is without abuse or neglect, and unfortunately there are times when CPS has to investigate and has to intervene, and the child welfare system and the youth court system have to kind of stand in the crossroads to make sure that our kids are safe. In 2023, Judge Favre, who hears all of our cases, my volunteers, not only do they visit these children in their homes, but they also, at every juncture of the court process, they make reports to the court. My volunteers made over 200 court reports in 2023, and 98% of the recommendations that they presented to Judge Favre became court-ordered recommendations, and then which translated into court-ordered services for these children. Those same 74 volunteers donated over 4,300 hours of volunteer service to the children of Hancock County, who are some of our most vulnerable citizens. You cannot have a conversation about the work that we're doing without forgetting that we have a four-legged staff member. Remy, Mississippi's only courthouse facility dog, continues to serve children in court proceedings. We have continued to receive additional inquiries to be able to utilize her services to support child victims in different types of criminal proceedings. Actually, on the way here, I got a call saying that our district attorney needs Remy and her handler, Naomi, in court tomorrow morning. So the work that they are doing is helping on multi-levels, both in civil child abuse cases, but also in victimization cases that are being permanently heard. Remy last year helped one of our child victims, our sexual abuse victims, get a successful indictment through grand jury. She's participated through several justice court hearings, and we have also been able to lend her out on special occasion when we had a particular need from another neighboring judge. In terms of unique child victims, not hearings, but she served 25 Hancock County children in court proceedings in last year. I also wanted to remind you all that our next fundraiser is Touch a Truck. It is one of, I think, the best family-friendly events that's free to community members in our county. We usually have about 40 to 45 larger-than-life vehicles. The city of Diamond Head usually has some type of vehicle and that entered in. We have monster trucks. We have all of our emergency preparedness vehicles. We have different types of booths. We have sensory booths that the Junior Auxiliary of Hancock County does. We have, the Department of Child Protection Services has a recruitment booth. The library, our Hancock County XL by 5, they usually give away over 500 books that day to kids. They do some screening for kids, early developmental screening that kids don't even realize is happening when they're just coming along to visit the booths and do these fun activities with the kids that are so valuable. And in the event, it appears that they may need some early childhood services that preclude preschool. And we also have this opportunity to get our construction partners and all of these folks that have these really cool vehicles that little ones want to touch and blow horns and sit on. So it's an entirely free event. It's our community give back. It is Saturday, April 13th from 10 to 2 at the Hancock County Government Annex property. We would love to have community members who are listening and watching on TV, anybody with kids or grandkids to come out. We give away food, we give away drinks, and we give away a lot of educational and a lot of fun activities. So I definitely want to make a plug for that. The last thing I want to just share with you all is I wanted to let you know that in the fall of 2023, the CASA of Harrison and Stone program was kind of at a crossroads, and they were really needing to figure out what their next step was going to be. They were currently serving some children in Harrison County who were in foster care, but they reached out to our program and asked if we had any capacity to be able to expand. While expansion is a big undertaking when you're talking going from Hancock County, the reality is that all the kids in foster care in Hancock County have an advocate. The work that we have done with our trauma-informed training and with the support of Remy, these are all deep in the services of child victims. The one thing that really resonated is that kids needed us there, and also that we could, from a business standpoint, be able to merge and better serve the collective 3 counties. What that meant is that instead of having 3 independent Cynthias, we could have 1. Instead of having 3 fiscal people, we could have 1. And that would help us to share some of the administrative costs that run a small nonprofit. And I think that was a smart business decision on behalf of our board. And we're so excited. We work closely with the 2 other judges in Stone and in Harrison. And Judge Favre was actually the first person to say this was the right thing for the children of the Gulf Coast. So I wanted you all to know as our partners that this doesn't really mean that much of anything different for y'all. Our office in Hancock County is our home. We do occupy a small office in the Knight Nonprofit Center on Seaway. It's closer proximity to the Biloxi Youth Court building where court hearings are held. We have added additional staff, and I'm very, very proud to say that during the transition that happened at the end of 2023, we were able to not interrupt services to those children. So the volunteers that were serving on those cases could transfer over to us so they didn't lose another person in their life. And that was critical in my terms of priorities. So I just want to thank y'all for your support and know that we appreciate and acknowledge everything the city of Diamond Head does for CASA and for the children.
Thank you for all you're doing, and they're very blessed to get you in Harrison and Hancock. We will share you because you are amazing. Thank you,
Thank
Cynthia.
you. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Next, we have the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Quick update on our current projects we have out there. The Park 10 Road, currently still 270 calendar days with a scheduled end date of June the 1st. I'm not sure if any of you have been out there, but the drainage all down through the new portion has all been put in, and actually some of the rock has been put down, so you can really see the road coming in place there. The rest of it, they're working up Park 10 now on both sides to get up towards the bowling alley area. So they're on schedule and doing well, and they're putting in electrical conduit right now, and then hopefully we'll have curb and gutter start the installation on that here by the end of this month. Weather, of course, is going to dictate whether they get all that done in that time frame, but we're hoping for some good dry days here in the next few weeks. The Noma Drive restoration, the final lift of asphalt has been completed on that, so the contractor's just now waiting to get the striping subcontractor out here to stripe the road. So that'll be, I'm hoping this week, but it may be first of next week before they get out there. The multimodal path has been completed from here at the parking lot all the way down to the Noma Drive circle, and they've just got to jump across the road and finish that final little portion. And they're waiting right now for the other contractor to clean up that area and dry it out so that they can get that last bit done. That contract's 195 calendar days with the extension we granted them. So the end date on that one now is March 24th. Bowview 2, the bids have been awarded. Contractors have given us all their paperwork at the end of last week, so we'll process that and get it back to the engineer. Pre-construction meeting has been set for tomorrow on that project, so we'll get that one moving here soon. Bond paving project is 150 calendar days with an end date of March the 6th. I spoke with the engineer on this project to determine if they're going to be able to finish by March the 6th or if they will need an extension on their time. So hopefully we'll get something back from them, and we'll have it on the March 5th meeting if they need to extend that time frame, or they'll be done and we'll be able to do a substantial completion. The engineers working on that updated schedule with Warren Paving, just waiting on that information to get back to us. The agenda tonight includes the purchasing of the traffic buttons, which will be installed in the buffered bike lane as per the drawings. Also on tonight's agenda, you have the annual unit price repair contract for approval. This will be for any jobs throughout the city that we need, small jobs throughout the city that we need to do, replacing a culvert or fixing some sort of minor drainage ditch. And there's all kinds of things in there and all kinds of prices that we can use. And so that'll hopefully save us some money as we're doing these other projects. Montjoy Creek, the DMR notice period has ended as of yesterday. So I'll get with the engineer and get the comments and start providing feedback on that project. I have a meeting scheduled for Monday with the engineer on that one. Noma Drive Phase 1B, those bids were received last week, and they're currently under review by the engineer. That project, of course, is to build the parking area, boat ramp, kayak launch, pier, and then the conference station. Kalika Way, the bids were received for this project last week as well. The city is still waiting on some additional easements from property owners and right of entry forms before I want to move forward on that, just to make sure we're good before we award that contract out. So we have a little more time on that one. Bayou Drive, those bids were received for this project as well, and it's on the agenda tonight for approval to award to the lowest bidder, Moran Hauling. The canal dredging, as I've been saying, that's under review by the Restore Council. I spoke with them again today, and that's still where it is. They're expecting it hopefully within the next few days, hopefully by the end of this month. And then it'll be a 30 to 60 day turnaround before we get a grant agreement for that one. Diamond Head Drive Lakes Road, Elliott Home Engineer and Covington have agreed on a design for that project. We have been out to the site to speak with the engineer, or with the contractor that's going to be doing the work. They are preparing to schedule that to start March the 4th. They have made all considerations for property owners that live in that area. If and when they're tearing up a driveway in front of that homeowner, they're going to let that homeowner know. They'll be able to park their cars on what is going to become the post office box pad that's there. So they'll be able to park their car there and be able to get in and out. At all times, one side of the road will always be open for residents to get in and out, as well as emergency vehicles. Noma Drive Boardwalk, engineer is still working on those drawings to get those finalized. There's 2 easements on tonight's agenda from the property owners for approval. Once we have those easements, we'll send those approvals. We'll get those to the Restore group, and they will hopefully be able to finalize that project and get moving forward on that one as well. A couple other things that are not necessarily city projects, but just wanted to get you guys to know about and understand a little bit about. The MDOT Roundabout project was awarded to TL Wallace on the February 13th MDOT meeting. Currently, we don't have a schedule on their start time on this, but I will see what I can find out as soon as I can and let you guys know when that project is going to get started and what the schedule for that entire project will be. The other MDOT project is the interstate widening project, putting in the 6 lanes. That one is to add the 2 additional lanes on the interstate, but it's also to add the sound barrier wall that will cover Diamond Head, and then a multimodal walking path behind that sound wall. But just so all of you are aware, as MDOT has told us, this will require them to remove most, if not all, the trees in the right-of-way on the north side of the interstate. So the noise from the interstate is going to get increasingly worse until it can get better. So it just, let people know and make sure everyone understands that that's what's going to happen, is they're going to remove all those trees up to their right-of-way fence line, and then do all the surveying they have to do, figure out what their plan is, and then get started on that project. That one, I believe, is, I'm hearing maybe first of next month. Possibly, April. It was awarded, I think, on December the 12th, so it shouldn't be much longer before they actually get started on that. Now, whether they start working on the sound barrier wall and the walking path first, or if they decide to go down to Harrison County and start working that way coming forward, it just depends on how the project lays out. But if I can get a schedule on that one, I'll let you guys know as well. I do have the MDOT scheduled to come for the next meeting to speak to all of us about this, and maybe they'll have more information at that time on the 5th. The March for the Mayors, that event is still going on for the remainder of February, so there are drop-off points throughout the city. If you can donate 15-ounce cans of soup, that would be greatly appreciated. The detention ponds, there were 4 ponds that have been reduced to 2 because 2 of the others are now part of a different project. On tonight's agenda, I have Pond D, which is near the Pelican Cove area of Diamond Head, on the agenda to hire an engineer. Once we started looking at that overall project and some other issues around that area, it deemed itself needing its own project instead of just digging out that pond there. So we're looking at making that a separate project altogether. Probably still being done by Public Works, but just a little bit more engineering than just simply digging out the pond. The rest of the projects that you see there, we're still working on those. I spoke to the engineer actually today about them and on some of those from Covington, and we're kind of deciding which ones need to get started next. We're also, I have sent out probably 100 to 150 letters to residents regarding the different projects and these drainage projects, and getting them to try to sign up, getting right of entry forms from them, as well as signing up for email information so that we can keep them notified as much as possible. So I think today I sent them out Friday. I sent a bunch of them out Friday, and already got 6 or 7 back in today. So people were getting those right of entry forms back to us. And the USDA contract that's on the agenda that was tabled from last time, this is the same contract as in the past 2 years. It allows the city to deal with an issue if it arises in a timely manner, instead of us having to go back, getting a contract put in place if there is an issue, and getting back to the council and getting approval for that. It's not the intent, nor has it ever been the intent of the city to remove any healthy Canadian geese. So that was never an issue and never will be an issue in this city.
All right, thank you for the update. I have a few questions. Kaliki Way, so I see there's one easement on here. Is there additional easements we need before we can get that drainage project bid, or is that the last
Yes, ma'am.
easement?
As I said, there's 3 additional easements that I need, as well as probably 4 to 6 more right of entry forms that I have to get.
And right of entry we can expect, because usually the contractor will secure those, and it's after the project, but the easement, so
It's possible. We're just trying to get them ahead of time, but if not, it will become the contractor's responsibility to get those right of entry forms.
why are these easements just coming up now? We didn't notice them
No,
before.
ma'am, I've sent some, I sent it in December, and I've sent it again, so I'm still just waiting on the property owner to get back with us. So,
It's
best I can do.
always good to get those before you advertise to bid the easements, to make sure that, because I've seen projects held up for that, and we don't want that to happen.
All the work can still be done. The additional easement is just to help the overall drainage project, but it can be altered if needed. But we hope to get those easements taken care of soon.
Okay. Agenda item number 19, which is adding the little riser truncated cones on the Diamond Head Drive. Is the funding for that, or the cost associated, coming out the bond proceeds?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I was wondering where we're getting that money from that. SMPDD was going back through the city, and I did notice them riding around doing the pavement rating status.
Yes, ma'am.
I've got concerns with residents on Lola Drive and Bayou Drive. When is that rating update going to be complete?
I got the login, I want to say Thursday or Friday of last week, and so I'm still waiting on the report from SMPDD to come back to me.
Do we know about?
Not yet, but I'll ask again and see when they
Okay.
plan on getting it to us.
All right, and you sent an email last Friday saying the zoning map is being made by Orion Planning, but you would send me an update on when it.
No, I said Orion is going to be working on one. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, when
But-
do you think that'll be completed?
Probably not until after Planning and Zoning has approved the zones. That's step 1. We're not building a map until after we have the zones all taken care of.
Okay, you can't do the zoning data without having a map to know what connects to what. It's extremely difficult, if not. So we talked about at the last meeting, getting the map.
There is no map until after we get the zones taken care of. That is Orion's method and their plan to work on it. They're going to get the zones taken care of, get it to Planning and Zoning for their review and approval, and then council approval.
Okay,
Once
I
that's
spoke
done,
to
we'll then
Orion at
take
the
it.
planning and zoning meeting when he was here, and I said, when are you getting the map? He said, I agree with you, Mayor, we need the map. He knows we need the map. So how can these residents look at, let's just take the Aloha District. First, we didn't even know what R5, R10, those are new terminologies, what they meant. So you had asked Orion, what is
No, I didn't. It's in the plan already.
what is R1? Where is it? What is this? So when we look at the Aloha District and we see what it butts up against, we need to know specifically where we're proposing it to be, or the different zones, because the design criteria is brand new. So we need to be able to know, okay, if this is sitting here by residential and we look at the design data, what design criteria do we want to see on it? You can't look at the design criteria and not know where it is on the map and say, well, that's good, because it could be up against residential. We may want a buffer. It could be up against the interstate. Maybe we don't want fences, but we want it to look a certain way. Depending upon where the zoning district is on the map is how you determine the design criteria. We're going about it backwards.
That is the plan from Orion, so I will discuss that with them to see if they want to change the way they're planning on doing this.
Okay, because he was standing right there and agreed to me that he said, I'll get the map.
Understand?
If they don't get the map, I mean, I can't vote for something and I will not vote to approve the zoning ordinance without knowing where the districts are, because I've done this for 40 years
Well,
and
the
I know.
proposed map is in the plan. It's
There
on
is
the
no
page.
proposed map
Yes,
with
ma'am.
every zoning on it.
Well, the residential zones are not changing in any way. Nothing about those have changed other than their name. So that's just, and that's why I updated the map and gave it back to you with a key showing what those residential zones are. They're the same thing.
Okay, so
That's just a
So there's
wording
no
thing.
map with all the new residential names and the new Aloha district all on one map?
No.
No, there isn't. Okay. Well, I have deep concerns about that. I had a few calls with the current weather that we've had recently and the severe winds and the threats of tornadoes. Where are we with the HMGP grant funding for tornado sirens? We have been working on that for 3 years.
Yes, ma'am. It's still being worked on. They asked me last month for an updated quote on the sirens. I sent that to them, and so it's still in their process of getting reviewed by FEMA.
Can we check on that? Because that has been
It's in their
like,
process with FEMA just last month. So I mean, that's the most updated information I have.
okay. And sometimes it helps, because I've dealt with FEMA lots of years, is to write letters to FEMA and let them know that we're expressing deep concerns about going again to another hurricane season without having them. This will be the third one. And
Agreed.
they were hot and heavy on getting it approved to start with.
They were. I will agree.
All right, Bayou Drive. So we have on the agenda tonight the contracts being awarded. The 36-inch RCP under the road is going to be removed, and we've got the new box going in. Where are we with the temporary road for the residents to get out?
It's complete.
It's completed all the way through?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it open yet for residents
It's
to
gated
use?
shut right now
The gate's shut, okay, and we won't open it until that area is
until it's needed. Yes, ma'am.
until we start on
That's
that
correct.
project. Okay. I've received an email today about the skate park again. We had the residents, it's a group of young parents with children wanting to know about it. I did go online and search for grants, and the Skate Park Project National Grant Program is open now for submittals. Would you mind checking into that? It's grants up to $50,000 for nonprofits, municipalities, and state agencies. It's the Skate Park Project National Grant Program.
Looking at current contracting prices, I don't know if that'll do us any good, but we can certainly try.
And look at different grants you can leverage. You know, no grant probably will fund things totally, but if you leverage, it'll work. Item number 17 on the agenda, there was no information in the packet. So what is that for?
It's to ask me, or to get me to get an appraisal for the two properties.
Okay,
Same as-
where is that located?
That's still the Subway property and the gentleman behind him,
And this is for the phase 2 of
phase 3.
3 of the commercial district.
That's correct.
So it's for the Subway property?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I had no idea what that was for.
This is the second appraisal. We had one last month to get the first appraisal and decided to get a second one.
Okay.
Actually, it's just an update of the current appraisal we have.
And I'm assuming we have to take fair market value. Is that what we're doing here?
That'll be up to our legal
He's
counsel
going to
on that
say
part, but
yes,
yes.
because that's what we have to do. Okay, now on to the thing that's bothering me the most tonight is the geese on the contract. And it's my fault that I did not see it the 2 years prior to it. But looking at the geese on the contract, I had sent an email asking what did USDA say to you when you spoke with them?
Yes, that's what they explained to me, is that it's been on the contract for the last 2 years, and again, this is an as-needed, when-needed contract. It's not to say that they will then come in here and kill Canadian geese or wild hogs. It's if we need to call them and have their, get their services to go deal with a specific issue that we may be having. And like I said, we're not going to remove or kill any healthy Canadian geese.
Okay,
But
and I didn't.
since they are protected animals, we as a city can't just do anything. That is protected by the U.S.
So, they are protected.
That's correct.
The geese are protected, which means we need to
They're
protect the
protected
geese.
because they were an endangered species for a while. I'm not sure if that's still the case. Different opinions on different websites that you go to.
They are
But they are
protected.
considered a nuisance animal, so you cannot remove them and take them to some other location for that reason. So
And I'm not sure if you know this about me or not, but my father worked for Wildlife and Fisheries for over 30 years. So
I'm
me
aware.
and wildlife are,
sure.
we're
I
on a
have no-
first name basis. I was raised
I have no
with
desire to
them.
kill or any wildlife. I actually
So,
had a
but,
deer in my yard that had a bucket stuck on his head, and I called portion of the bucket. And so I called the wildlife to see if they can get out in the woods and hopefully find the poor animal and help save it, get that off
Okay.
of it.
so talking about the geese on the agenda, when these contracts are made, and this was made 2 years ago, so apparently somebody at City Hall had told USDA. I
I
called
think it's-
USDA today, so I called after I didn't get a response
Mhm.
from you because I had asked, well, what did they say? What did they say? And I waited till 2 o'clock because I send my email out to 500
yes.
people.
I can tell you that I work with USDA on those, and they work between us and the POA, because the POA also has a contract with them for their properties, which include the same thing. And the reason is, they have it for the airstrip in case there's an ever issue where they have to remove some from there, and then ours is in the event they become ill,
Mhm.
or a certain number of them become ill or showing signs of illness, they would of course come.
So the POA has it covered on theirs for the geese.
On, well, for the airport.
Mhm. And there's no specific location shown on these contracts. It just says,
Because ours is
The geese.
citywide,
So-
this is for their property.
so somebody told them from City Hall to add the geese, and it was probably neither of y'all. It was 2 years ago, and they recalled a few names, and I said, okay, well, that explains how the geese got on the contract. But looking at the geese, so let's understand the geese are protected. So let's first learn the geese are protected. The only problem I see that we have with the geese is at the duck pond, but I think most of us have dealt with the geese. I have for over 30 years. They don't seem to bother me. Geese come, they do what they do. If a geese, so we're worried about and I see the few things that you brought up, if a geese is killed or somebody accidentally hits a duck or a geese, then we can dispose of the duck or geese. We don't need a contract to do that.
That is correct.
Now, if a geese gets sick or we feel they're diseased and they need to be helped, what can you do if that happens? You call Wild Heart Rescue, they will come get the geese and they will take it off. Geese cannot be relocated. Do you understand that?
That's what I
They
just said.
cannot.
Yes, ma'am.
Geese have got to be euthanized. That means they have to be killed because you can't relocate a geese.
Yes, ma'am.
That's just that's just a horrible thing, but that's how the geese,
That is
they'll
correct.
be euthanized.
They-
Did you
they are
know that
considered a,
geese can only
nuisance
be-
animal.
Do you know geese can only be trapped 2 weeks out of the year?
That is correct, during their
So
molting
the
season.
second week in June is the only time that they can come here and trap the geese and kill them.
That is correct.
And why is that?
That's during their molting season, so they can't
Mhm.
fly at that time.
Okay, so you know all this.
Yes, ma'am.
So I would rather, and USDA is fine with this, scratch the geese off our contract. I will initial my name proudly. And if we see in June, if we see getting close to June that the geese are an issue, they're a problem, then at any point we can put this back on the agenda and get it approved.
We can do that, yes, ma'am. But the point of that contract is that we don't have to take that time. We don't have to waste more time to deal with an issue that we may have. It helps us in a timely manner address an issue.
How many times did you call USDA last year to deal with the geese?
I've never called them to deal with the geese. I have no issue with them at all.
See, that's
But
why I say it's
that's because they're
safe.
healthy and there's
Mhm.
not a problem. The fact that they walk in the road and you have to wait 2 minutes for them to get across
Mhm.
is not an issue at all.
And 2
And that's not
minutes
what
is-
this contract's about. This contract's about unhealthy
Right.
geese that need to be addressed.
And if you have unhealthy geese, then we can immediately call, because it's going to be a geese, we can call the Wild Heart Rescue to come get the geese. But you've never had to call them in 2 years, so I don't see it a problem removing the geese from the contract. And if we feel we need the geese back on the contract, it won't take all of 5 minutes to get it back on the contract and get it approved. I would rather know that, because once it's on the contract, we approve it, then it's up to you to call USDA
Certainly.
to get the geese. And then none of us have any comment on the geese at that point, once it's approved. And I just don't feel comfortable with that, because I do love the geese, and there's a lot of people that do love the geese.
I do as well.
And I feel you love the
I
geese.
do as well, and
So I
that's my
say-
job as city manager, is to manage and take care of the things that are
Mhm.
supposed to be taken care of, instead of you guys having to do that on a daily
Right,
basis.
and I thank you
So,
for not having to call them the past 2 years. We've never had to call for the geese, so I don't see it an issue to, if you ever need it, we can add the geese back, but that's how the geese got on there. Okay, that's all I have. Councilman Moore?
Yes, I have a couple of
Sure.
comments or things. So there was an Eagle Scout here who was doing a project a few weeks ago, and he was going to do it right off of the kayak launch off of Bayou Drive, going through the waterway along the Rotten Bayou. Is that correct?
We're starting up at Twin Lakes, actually, in that area, and going to the kayak launch.
Okay.
There was a second option of actually going down the other way.
Somebody has been doing a fantastic job of that trail along Rotten Bayou from the kayak launch
going south.
going down. I mean, it is not even weeded over now. It's clear. It's about 5 feet wide for at least
You know,
more than a quarter
It's
mile.
private property, so
So,
somebody's trespassing.
but it's going good. Okay, and then the other thing is I was walking on Noma Drive and past the circle towards the football fields when I noticed this cleared area along like a drainage ditch that goes all the way over to Montjoy Creek.
Yes.
And I was like, well, this is a nice trail. Why don't they advertise this as a trail? Is that going to be part of the Montjoy Creek trail thing?
Well, actually, hopefully that will be part of the Noma Drive walking trail that we are trying to, if we can get funding for, that will start in one of those two areas, down at the end of Noma or up in one of those by the drainage ditch, going all the way to Montjoy Creek.
I
where
was
our
just
kayak
surprised that
launch
it was
goes.
so complete.
We're trying to mow it down some right now, and so that we can get surveying done on it.
Okay, that's all my comments.
Councilman Finley? Councilman Lisi?
Thank you. I just wanted to get, and this may be a question for Ben or John, you may know, what's the status of kind of cleaning out the pond on the fourth hole? I know it's part of the bigger drainage.
That is part of the Turnberry project.
I just remembered here in
I received-
February at some point. And
Yeah, I received the owners that will be affected by that whole project, and I will be sending out letters to them to notify them of that. I think right now 60%-ish is where our drawings are on that.
Okay.
So we'll get with those residents and let them know about that
Okay.
and where we stand.
Okay, great. And then just to clarify, the sound wall, the MDOT clearing, and okay, so I know that
Yes.
we finished Miller Pond, the dredging and all that. It doesn't
That's
really
correct.
look finished. Is that because, are you waiting for?
I have been mostly. I feel like on the south side of that pond, since I knew MDOT was coming, I wanted to. We really don't have access to get to it, and so once MDOT comes through and takes care of doing their portion, we'll be able to get to it a little bit better, either via the multimodal path and be
Okay.
able to clean that up a little bit more and do some more to that side.
Okay, great. So we're not going to leave it like that.
Yeah.
Great.
That'll just be something Public Works will work on.
Okay. And then I know that the Yellow House went under contract, which is great
I
news.
understand it, yes.
And this may be a question for Pat. has that closed? Have the new people gotten a building permit? Do you know?
They reached out to me because we have a lien on that property.
Oh,
so
okay.
they're still in that process.
Okay. All right. Well, that's exciting, though.
Haven't taken on that.
Yeah, great. Okay, and then there was some confusion this week. You and I spoke, but I just want to address it publicly about surveying being done. And I think people were kind of in a panic. So can you talk for just a minute about what that was?
I left that off of all the other things I had.
That's okay.
It's okay. The two ponds, the duck pond and the pond on Calipacona, were given to the city by the POA during their election in June, July, whatever. It kind of sat there for a while because they could not find surveys or legal descriptions on those ponds. So Covington has been doing the surveying. That's where you're seeing the marks and the stakes in the ground with the flags on it, where they're marking the complete surveying of those two ponds. Once they do that, they'll be able to give us a legal description, and this guy next to me will be able to get a deed prepared and get those two properties transferred over to the city, so that we can then address the concerns that you had at the last meeting about doing something for the erosion control and those kinds of things. But right now, since they still don't belong to us, we can't really
Right.
do that. But that's where we are, and that's what that surveying markers are. So not anybody else doing anything. It's just the city trying to figure out where those stakes are and where that property starts and stops.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely.
And then I just wanted to compliment Public Works and everybody at the city who helped at the Mardi Gras Parade.
Well, thank you.
They're
That was
incredibly-
all Public Works. I had
It's a
them.
huge undertaking, and
yes,
they did a wonderful job.
Getting everything set up and then getting it cleaned up as quickly as they could.
And they did it very-
Saturday and then
very
again
quickly.
Sunday or Monday, the final.
So thank you. That's all I had.
Councilman Cumberland?
Yeah. John, the striping, you mentioned they were coming to finish that. The date is March 6th for the bond paving project to be over.
That's correct.
And depending on weather, we're anticipating them to finish, hopefully
Yes.
at least get the striping done.
Yes, I don't know if you noticed, there's little paint marks on the in the multimodal lane.
Mhm.
I saw the truck coming through yesterday. I didn't see anybody today. My assumption is, going back looking at the plans, that is where they'll be putting down the bike emblems in that multimodal lane. And then the rest of it should be just cleaning up where around the water tower where they had to do that one dig up. So they're going to restripe that to get that taken care of, as well as on Diamond Head Drive East, right before you get to the East Rec, where they had to fix a water line there. So they had to tear that and create a little patch. So they're going to fix that last little stripe. And then, of course, all of Noma here, different contract, but still to be done, hopefully by the company at the same time.
The intersection at Golf Club and Diamond Head Drive East,
Yes,
That-
that one too.
that's going to be a big change there with the
Yes,
the
it will
striping.
be.
you
Yes,
can see
once
the
they-
dots on the road, and I
Yes.
like it from what
Yes.
I've seen.
Yes, and from this point forward, you'll have to everybody will have to sort of make a left-handed turn coming off Golf Club Drive. That way you're facing Diamond Head Drive East, that is headed east, so that you can see whether there's somebody there. And then you'll either turn left and go down Diamond Head Drive East towards the towards the East Rec, or you'll take a right and get in that one lane that is now there on Diamond Head Drive East, headed towards the the community center.
So with the ceramic reflectors that we're going to put in the buffer zone,
Yes.
do you think they're going to do anything like that in that area?
There'll be some, and there'll actually be bollards
Oh, really?
that the contractor's putting in to prevent people from being able to go straight
Okay.
in that area for that.
All right. That's all I have.
All right. Public comments. We have Mr. Bill Parrish.
Good evening.
Evening.
And I'd
Good
like to
evening.
say simply that I have a concern about this issue that was tabled last council meeting regarding the geese. Who is going to determine, Mr. City Manager, who's going to be the person to
Address them.
determine if there is an issue with the geese? Is that anywhere in that contract? That's a major concern. There are a lot of people that do not like the geese because, God forbid, they have to wait 2 minutes for the geese to cross the street. Maybe all of us have encountered that. I would encourage you to carefully consider leaving that in there without any kind of consideration for who is going to determine if those geese are ill or if they are a hazard. That's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, could I get a motion to approve the February 6, 2024 regularly scheduled meeting minutes? Motion made by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. All in favor? Aye. I'm going to move from the table motion to approve to enter a cooperative service agreement with the United States Department of Agriculture in an amount not to exceed for $5,000 for wildlife management services and needed for a period between January 22nd, 2024 through January 23rd, 2025. Motion to remove from the table. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm going to move to amend the motion. I'm going to move to amend the motion to say, motion to approve to enter into a cooperative service agreement with the United States Department of Agriculture in the amount not to exceed $5,000 for the wildlife management services as needed for the period January 22nd, 2024 through January 23rd, 2025, and remove the Canadian geese from the contract. Could I get a second? Okay, no second. You want to leave the geese in there?
I'd like to talk to John about it some more.
Okay,
have a
well, I'm
discussion.
going to move for discussion with the amendment on there. Could I get a second for discussion? Okay, I'm going to move.
Motion to remove the geese died. So, supplementary.
I'm going to move for discussion to approve to enter the cooperative service agreement with the United States Department of Agriculture in an amount not to exceed $5,000 for wildlife management services as needed for the period of January 22nd, 2024 through January 2023, 2025, and remove the Canadian geese from the contract. Could I get a second? And this is for discussion. I thought you wanted to discuss
I
it.
do want to discuss, why can't we just discuss what's on the agenda?
Well, we'll have
Without
to,
the
we'll have to
amendment.
make another motion.
Just make a motion to approve it as it is, have your discussion, and then,
Right.
Then do a motion.
You want to do that?
Yeah. So a
Okay.
second by Councilman Cumberland?
Are you seconding the discussion or?
Yeah, we're just discussing with the amendment on it. All right, okay,
don't-
it's open for discussion.
Oh,
So,
it's, I don't know that it is. I want to make sure we're clear here. John, did you second you said you wanted to discuss it as it is, and now you're seconding it for discussion with the amendment, is that correct?
No. I'd like to discuss it as it is on the agenda.
well, that's not the motion on the table.
All right, so there is no, is there a second?
Make sure that motion's on, you're gonna have that motion that died with no action on the minutes? Okay, all right, that's all I wanna hear. So, could I get a motion to approve and enter into the cooperative service agreement with the United States Department of Agriculture in an amount not to exceed for $5,000 for wildlife management services as needed for a period January 22nd, 2024 through January 23rd, 2025? Motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland. Second? Could I get a second? Second by Finley. Cumberland, you
Okay.
can start the discussion.
So John, you're not going to call about the geese unless there's one that's sick, you had a real problem with it, and what would your alternative be other than what the mayor mentioned, calling someone else, is this gonna cost the city something to call someone and have it removed?
That would be the only thing, is we would just have to call somebody else, and it would have to be one of these other organizations, which, I mean, they're responsive, but not always as responsive as you need them. And if it's a illness, they may or may not just want to come. I would have to contact some of them and see if they would be willing to, because they would also have to have some sort of agreement with the USDA to be able to come and take care of those, any Canadian geese, as they are protected. If they don't have the authority to do it either, they would be violating the law, just like we would.
So we've never called about them in 2 years, because we've been lucky, because we haven't encountered one that was sick. or
I'm not sure
having
that
a
we've
problem.
ever called about them. I'll give you that opinion, not just 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, I just hate to pass up an opportunity to do something that could actually help us or help the geese if one was injured, and if there's no one else that
That's
better
right.
to call than this organization.
Right.
I mean, there is.
Yeah, you call this organization, they euthanize. You call Wild Heart Rescue, and do you not see their Facebook page?
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't know about wildlife art. That's why I'm asking him.
They're a free nonprofit. They take donations. They rehab animals, wild animals.
But this organization has no choice other than to euthanize.
Okay, any more
I
comments?
can't answer that. I don't know.
Any more comment?
Yeah, would it make your job easier to have this contract, or more difficult without it, or do you not have opinion either way?
I mean, it does, if, like I said, it allows the city in a timely manner to address an issue. That's just all there is to it. Like I said, previously, it's no different than our debris, management contract. Hopefully, it's not something we ever have to use, but when we do, once a hurricane comes through and we have debris all over the streets, we simply call the contractors that we already have in place, and they mobilize and come out and take care of it. And we're not having to wait, get approval from the board, you go out for advertisements, go through all that whole process, that takes a long time. So this is the same thing. And I mean, you can trust me, I have no desire to ever, kill any healthy, Canadian geese. And just because this contract's in place doesn't mean anything like that would happen.
And John, in this contract, this entity, which is a state entity, it's the Department of Agriculture, has to follow federal law. So they can't come out and just wantonly destroy geese that are otherwise healthy. They've got to follow NEPA, they've got to follow the Endangered Species Act, they have to follow any federal applicable statutes. So, I mean, if John were mistaken that the goose that they were not sick, they would come out and say, they're not sick, we're not removing them. So the federal laws have to be applied with this contract.
All right, Councilman Cumberland, is that all your
Yes, ma'am,
questions?
that's-
Councilman Finley?
Yes. If there were ever an issue with a goose, we would not be mandated to call USDA. We could call a wildlife rescue for a goose.
We certainly could,
With
yes.
this contract, if we have multiple geese, say 15 to 20, we would not have to go through this, and we would already have the contract in place. Because so it may only take 5 minutes to get this done. It's taking us 15 minutes to talk about it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm good.
Councilwoman Lisi?
Thank you. So, just so I'm clear, it sounds like this organization would be the group that determines whether the goose is sick or not, or the geese are right. Is that right, Derek?
I would say so, that they would
Okay,
probably
'cause
be
that
the
was a
ones
very
that could
good
come and
point
make that
he made.
determination.
Because I know you wouldn't want to be the person who had to make that call, to
Right.
decide, well, I think it looks sick to me. We don't, we're not veterinarians, but I think we'd be irresponsible not to have something like this in place if there were an outbreak. And, I mean, if we didn't, we're talking about having to either wait until the next council meeting,
Right.
regularly scheduled, or call a special meeting, and,
Right.
it's not going to take 5 minutes, in my opinion. So I just think as a protection for the city, worst case scenario, hopefully you'll never, ever, ever have to call. And I know you don't want to, and
That's
thankfully
my
you
hope
haven't
as
had
well.
to before. But I think we'd be irresponsible not to have this in place in the event of some kind of emergency. situation.
All right,
Thank
Council,
you.
are you finished?
I am now, thank you.
Councilman Marr?
Yeah, I just want to clarify, it will only be for ill geese, not for healthy geese.
Absolutely.
And there's not that alternative that if they're a nuisance, whether it be crossing the street or anything like that, could
Right.
never be involved with this here contract.
I mean, that is, I believe that is in the contract, but I have no
Mhm. Yes,
desire
it is.
whatsoever to ever do that. A nuisance would have to be, I would say, that they're blocking the airstrip and causing, a danger for for people in their airplanes, which the POA already has a contract in place for that.
So
that shouldn't
actually,
be an issue.
To correct John here,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Thank you.
it specifically says under the work plan, Canada geese that present a health and safety hazard as well as a threat of collision with aircraft. We've already talked about the POA owns the airport, but I mean, there could be a situation where they're on city property and somehow still being a threat to air traffic. But the only other way would be health and safety hazard. So if they were simply just a nuisance, they don't get out of the road, this contract would not apply.
Okay, thank you.
A health and that constitute a lot of description saying that. So my thought on this is I will never vote to have the geese on the contract, and I know why they were added after talking to the USDA today, and they were added by the city. We tell the USDA what to put in the contract. If the POA has a contract in place with the Canadian geese, the city does not also need one. We share the same property. So why do we have to force ourselves to have it on there? I'm not going to have it on there. The difference between us and the POA is the POA has a group that discusses and talks, and they know when someone's calling the USDA. We have a city manager form of government, so it's one person, and we may never know when the USDA except calling them. And I know you love animals. I just don't. If I'm going to vote for something that's going to cause something to be euthanized, I want a little bit more control, and there is none. And the POA already has it in their contracts, but so for the city to have it is
Well,
repetitive.
Well, actually, it's not repetitive because there would be a cost associated with that, and the POA would not pay for a city geese issue. So we have to have something to take care of geese on city property.
Okay, so they're going to be on city property if they bother the POA. They're going to be on city property out in the right-of-way, there's no doubt.
If they're in their golf courses, I would assume be the main place that they would be concerned about, the Canadian geese, or in the airstrip, which is both POA property.
And we've never needed it for 2 years, so do I feel we're going to need it? No, I don't, so I'm not going to have it on there. So city clerk, do a roll call on this one.
Finley,
All right, what are we voting on again?
this is to approve as recommended on the agenda.
Yes.
Lisi.
Yes.
Cumberland.
Yes.
Mar.
Yes.
Mayor.
No, a big no. And make sure those other motions that failed are on the minutes. Okay, resolution. Resolution 2024-050. A motion to adopt Resolution 2024-006, thereby authorizing the preparation and submittal of an application for the FY23 Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equality or Equity Raise program for the Commercial District Transformation Project in the amount of $11 million, $10 million federal share, committing match funds of $1 million local share, and for other related purposes. Motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilwoman Lisi, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. We're open for discussion. Councilman Lisi?
I think this is a wonderful opportunity, and if we can get that grant, that would be wonderful. I'm all for it.
Councilman Finley?
Nothing to add?
Councilman Marr?
I'm a little concerned about our share of $1 million.
Oh, me too.
I'm sorry. How do you foresee us raising that $1 million, and what would have to be lessened in order to make that happen?
Well, it would have to come out of our reserve funds to cover that $1 million share. it's as Councilman Lisi said, it would be a wonderful opportunity if it so happens that we could get this. And I think it would be a great issue or problem that we would have to work through to figure out how to get that $1 million for it. Do I feel like we're going to get it? Truthfully, no. I don't feel like we really match up to what the federal government expects on this type of grant. But I thought it would try one more year. It doesn't cost us anything, and give it one more shot and see if we can get closer. Each year for the last 3 years, we've gotten closer with our grading scale. But again, it's mostly focused on low or suppressed economic development areas, and we really don't quite meet that match. So I don't see us getting this, unfortunately. But I thought I'd try one last time on it.
Would the county be willing to help with the local share?
We can certainly ask if we do somehow get this grant. We can definitely reach out to them and others. And of course, the match doesn't necessarily have to be completely money. We have Gulf Coast Restoration funds that we could use to match with that for the rest of the projects that we've been doing on this, so we can make this all work together.
Okay, thank you.
I share the concerns on the $1 million. When it came up for funding that was requested by different entities within the city, we weren't able to fund. We had no money left in the budget. The RAISE grant is very competitive, dealt with it for years. It's almost impossible to get. This is a very large project, and you know, the scope of work, which I just received at 4:30. I didn't have time to really review it. So this is a big project. This impacts the residents of Diamond Head. This impacts the way Diamond Head would look. I'm concerned mainly about the $1 million, but I'm also concerned about the project. I don't think we have studied it in depth enough and had enough public comments before we dive in, so I'm going to be a no on this. But City Clerk.
Finley,
Yes.
Lacy,
Yes.
Cumberland,
Yes.
Marr,
Yes.
Mayor.
No. Resolution 2023-052, motion to adopt Resolution 2024-007, thereby acquiring by donation certain easements for the construction of a walking pier from Michael Cassano and Purcell Company, Inc. Motion?
Move.
Ooh, you were quick down there. Second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. So we've got a motion by Councilman Finley, second by Marr. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda. Could I get a motion to approve 7? It's a resolution. Go
Yeah.
ahead, City Clerk.
Finley,
Yes.
Lacy,
Yes.
Cumberland,
Yes.
Marr,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Consent agenda items 7 through 20. Could I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. All in favor?
Aye.
Action agenda 2023-039. Could I get a motion to appoint Tracy Shepherd to the position of Planning and Zoning Commissioner, Ward 2, for a 4-year term beginning April 1st, 2024?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Lisi. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Could I get a motion to approve the docket of claims DKT 231479, DKT 231507, in the amount of $1,078,206.94. Motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Lisi. Second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. All in favor?
Aye.
Could I get a motion to approve department reports A through D?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any need for executive session? Could I get a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming tonight.